Formula One has just been thrown into absolute chaos. For months, the spotlight has been firmly fixed on the looming 2026 ruleset, with every team pouring resources into the next-generation hybrid machines. The whispers about what comes after seem to fade into the background, but behind closed doors, the FIA was already plotting a seismic twist that could rip the sport back to its raw, thunderous roots. After Dutch Grand Prix, the paddock was rocked when the FIA summoned all teams for an emergency summit. On the table, a future without the silent efficiency of hybrids, and instead a rebirth of the beasts that once defined Formula One, the iconic V8s and even the legendary V10s. Though manufacturers fought fiercely to protect their massive investment in the 2026 hybrids, the governing body's willingness to press the reset button stunned everyone. The bombshell wasn't just the idea itself, but the urgency. Sources revealed the FIA doesn't want to wait until the 2030s. No, they want the visceral scream of V8s back on the grid as early as 2028 or 2029, barely 2 seasons after the new hybrids debut. For a sport used to 5-year engine cycles, this is nothing short of a revolution. The message is clear. Formula One might be about to trade efficiency for fury, silence for thunder, and the future for its glorious past. On the surface, Formula One is thriving like never before. Booming crowds, record sponsorships, and a global audience growing year on year. But peel back the glossy exterior, and the sport's leadership is quietly panicking. Both the FIA president and F1's chief executive have sounded alarm bells about the monstrous 2026 power units. They're complex beyond reason, draining budgets at an unsustainable rate, and, perhaps most damningly, dangerously low on energy. Simulations already paint an absurd picture. Cars crawling to the end of long straights at certain tracks as their electrical systems sputter out of power. For a sport that prides itself on speed, such a spectacle borders on farce. When the FIA pitched the Bahrain proposal, a radical reset with a possible return to the howling V8s or V10s, the manufacturers flatly refused. They've invested billions into the hybrid blueprint, and they're not willing to throw it all away overnight. Instead, they agreed to protect the 2026 concept, while the FIA launched a so-called catch-up safety net, designed to prevent any one manufacturer from being left hopelessly behind. But make no mistake, the seeds of rebellion have been sown. Behind the scenes, the FIA has begun sketching out a new vision for 2028, one that doesn't just prioritize sustainability, but restores the raw thrill of racing, a concept that strips power away from the manufacturers who have long used Formula One as a high-tech laboratory for road car experiments, and returns it to the fans and the sport itself. The governing body wants F1 to roar again, not whisper in silence. And if that means tearing up the hybrid rulebook, then the V8s may not just be a nostalgic dream, they could be the future waiting to explode back onto the grid. For Formula One's smaller customer teams, the return of simpler engines would be nothing short of salvation. Right now, they're pouring as much as a quarter of their annual budget into buying power units, a crippling cost that leaves little room for growth elsewhere. A shift back to affordable V8s, paired with a leaner hybrid system, would not only slash those expenses, but also throw open the doors for independent engine makers. Think of the glory days of Cosworth, when specialist suppliers could take on the giants and win. That possibility might just be reborn. And make no mistake, this is about more than just money. The bloated machines of modern F1 have become almost grotesque in size and weight, swollen like they've spent 2 decades gorging on fast food. Drivers complain the cars are unwieldy, heavy, and stripped of the agility their predecessors once had. A V8 revival promises more than sound. It means smaller, lighter cars that dart through corners with precision, a throwback to racing's purest form. Even Mercedes boss Toto Wolff, usually quick to defend the hybrid era, couldn't escape the negativity. He teased that the new 2026 package might unleash record-breaking speeds, perhaps even pushing an F1 car to an eye-watering 400 kilometers per hour. But when pressed in Zandvoort, he admitted the only reason he said it was to find something positive in the gloom. His words betrayed the truth. The mood in the paddock is sour, and the hunger for change has never been louder. The drivers weren't buying into the hype. When Toto Wolff floated the idea of cars hitting a jaw-dropping 400 kilometers per hour, the paddock erupted in disbelief. Max Verstappen was the first to twist the knife. With a smirk, the reigning champion quipped, "Maybe Toto's engine can do that," but the FIA won't let it happen. His point was clear. The governing body already plans to restrict power at tracks like Monaco and Singapore, where speed limits will be enforced to prevent the spectacle from turning into a safety circus. thunderous. The bigger problem is nobody truly knows what racing will look like in 2026. Some FIA drivers might be forced into bizarre tactics, like downshifting in the middle of straights just to recharge their energy stores. It's an image that feels more like a parody than the pinnacle of motorsport. That's why whispers of a more dramatic shift began to take hold. According to veteran journalist Michael Schmidt, the FIA and Formula One have quietly sealed an agreement. Development of a brand new V8 specification is already underway, targeting 2029. The irony, that's exactly when Cadillac will officially arrive as a full-fledged F1 engine manufacturer. The blueprint is bold, a 2.4-litre V8 engine supported by a slimmer, more efficient hybrid system. A modern twist on an old classic. Fans will remember the last V8 era, when the cars screamed at 20,000 RPM, producing a soundtrack that could raise the hairs on your arms from half a kilometre away. Those revs were eventually curtailed, first to 19,000, then further down to 15,000 with the early hybrid systems. But now, the FIA is ready to bring back the thunder. Only this time, the return of the V8 isn't nostalgia. It's a rescue mission to save Formula One from a future that feels too heavy, too expensive, and too hollow. Next season, we'll already see Formula One take a huge leap, as every car runs exclusively on biofuels, with each manufacturer crafting its own blend in partnership with lubricant suppliers. The V8 era of 2029 will push this further, with carbon-neutral fuel locked in as the foundation. But Stefano Domenicali is wrestling with a crucial question. Should the field share a single fuel supplier to ensure fairness, or continue letting manufacturers carve out their own advantage? According to Michael Schmidt's latest revelations, efficiency will be the holy grail of this new formula. The V8s will be fired up by pre-chamber ignition, running on CO2 neutral fuel, while paired with a hybrid system delivering between 220 and 240 kilowatts of power. That electrical output will sit neatly between today's 120 kilowatts and the 350 kilowatts beast coming in 2026. In other words, a balance. Enough hybrid to keep the sport sustainable, but not so much that racing becomes a science experiment. The very fact that the FIA already has this level of detail finalized for a 2028 engine is staggering. It betrays a deep unease that the 2026 power units may simply fail to deliver. The governing body isn't waiting for disaster to unfold. They're preparing an escape hatch in advance. And the motivation is crystal clear. Give Formula One a simpler, cheaper engine that restores the balance of power, cuts costs for customer teams, and breaks the iron grip of the manufacturers who too often hold the sport hostage. With the FIA's new vision, Formula One could be on the brink of a renaissance, a return to thunderous sound, lighter and more agile cars, and the raw spectacle fans have been craving. The V8s are not just making a comeback, they're coming to save Formula One from itself. Do you think the return of V8 engines will save Formula One's future, or is the FIA making a mistake by abandoning the 2026 hybrid so quickly? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, bye for now.